Welcome back to Onyx's Rambling Reviews. We need to talk about Wuthering Heights. I ended up rating this movie 2.5 stars. That movie, first off, spoilers ahead, not as many as usual for this video because it's based on a book, and if you've read the book, you kind of know what's going to happen. Though this movie does take, as most movie adaptations of books do, does take its liberties with the story. But there will still be spoilers ahead. Okay. Let's start with, I tried to read this book. I really, truly, honestly tried. I got halfway through the book. I did not enjoy it. Now, I'm not going to go too much into the differences between the book and the movie. I'm going to leave that to different channels that are more adept at those types of comparisons. But I will be comparing a little bit to the book. I got halfway through the book. That was apparently all I needed to read of the book. The movie is only the first half of the book, which is good because the second half can't happen based on what we see in the movie. Characters that would need to exist for the second half of the book to be made into a movie are not in the movie. Such as Catherine's older brother, Hindley. He doesn't exist, and the second half of the book involves his child, Harriton. I think that's his name. He's not in the movie, so it doesn't matter. Also, it's implied that Edgar is taking care of Isabella, when in the book, they're definitely brother and sister, and they have parents. The Linton parents don't exist in the movie, and it is implied that Edgar and Isabella are not related. So there's that. But I think my biggest complaint is the lack of Hindley, because it forces the role that he plays in the book onto another character who, in the book, isn't that insufferable. Most of the characters, just in general, are just completely insufferable. I hated most of them. They're all just jealous, self-centered pricks. But the problem is, without Hindley there to take on the role of being the abuser and just the one who really hates Heathcliff, that role gets pushed on to Nellie, who is the narrator in the book. She isn't that horrible in the book. She's actually pretty decent. She's one of the few decent people in the book. In this movie, she's kind of the catalyst for everything that goes wrong. I mean, Catherine's already a horrible person just because of how she was raised, but if Nellie had mentioned that Heathcliff was listening at the door, or had, not gone and told Edgar that she was having an affair with Heathcliff, a lot of the plot wouldn't have happened, at least in the movie. It's, you can tell she's jealous, because before Heathcliff showed up, without Hindley being there, Nellie was Catherine's best friend growing up. And then Heathcliff comes along, his dad just kind of, I guess, adopts him. It's not implied that he's an orphan. It's implied there was a father, and the father's just like, you take him now. In the book, I think it's implied that Heathcliff is an orphan. He's also much darker skinned in the books, and that definitely has some other implications that the movie doesn't go into, because they cast Jacob Elordi, who did a great job, but is very white. Not a huge complaint for me, though, skin tone. I can accept it. I can get past that. It's the fact that they got rid of Hindley and forced some of his character traits onto Nellie. But the movie starts with there's a hanging, actually. The sounds that you hear, you don't realize it's a hanging at first. You think something else is going on, but no, there's just a man hanging. And I think that did happen in the book. I skimmed a lot of it. I just couldn't. We start off, Catherine's a child. They're like, and I'd say 10-ish. They don't look that old. So they're young. The first part of the movie is Catherine, Nellie, Heathcliff as children. Though Nellie isn't as there as much, because she gets pushed aside once Heathcliff is brought into the house. We see early on that Catherine has control issues, and she's kind of not the nicest person, to put it lightly. We see this in a scene where she's trying to teach Heathcliff to read, and she's like, there's a picture of it. You can see what's happening. Why can't you just do this? And she's very frustrated that he can't figure out how to pronounce words and everything, which clearly he didn't learn growing up as a younger child. Now that he is this age and he's trying to. And also, why is it Catherine's job? I mean, arguably it's no. Well, yeah. Why is it Catherine? I guess she just decided to take it on herself because her father kind of presents Heathcliff to her as like a pet, or that's how she refers to it as, or something like that. Whatever. From there, like we see them just exist as children. They seem to become really good friends. I'm not really sure the dynamic between the two of them. It's sometimes it seems like friendship, sometimes it seems like he's just there to do her bidding. Then we get a time skip, and now they're at the age where we see them as Margot Robbie and Jacob Elordi. And I will say, there's a point where Heathcliff goes off to college. In the book, it is implied he goes off to university, he learns, he gets wealthy, and he comes back, he has a haircut, no more beard. He looked a lot better with the long hair and the beard in the movie. At least in my opinion. Like, that haircut was not working for him with those sideburns. Also, the only character in the movie that I actually kind of liked was Edgar. And I just felt bad for him throughout the movie. We flash forward to them as young adults. Their relationship hasn't really changed that much. They still run off and go do things together. And then we see the Lintons arrive, but it's really only Edgar and Isabella. And it is implied that Isabella is his ward. And at one point it's questioned why Edgar just didn't choose to marry Isabella. In the book it makes a lot more sense because he's her sister. And I think even back then, that was a step too far. Marrying your cousin back in like the early 1800s in that kind of time frame, more appropriate, I guess. I'm not going to get into the politics of relationships back then in the wealthy families of the time. Things were weird. They move in, and Catherine's just like, they'll call on me. I am clearly here and a young woman, and he will call on me to want to get to know me. He never does. She ends up one day just running off to see them. I think she and Heathcliff had a fight or something. She just goes off. She's creeping over the wall, and in this scene, you hear Isabella kind of recapping Romeo and Juliet to Edgar. He looks like he would rather be anywhere else than listening to Isabella recount Romeo and Juliet to him. Honestly, same. Isabella is. These people just did not really grow up. Besides maybe Edgar. They never grew out of their childish, selfish tendencies. Isabella's another factor in this. In the book, she's, I think, 16 at this point. Much younger. Catherine runs over there. She's creeping over a wall. Isabella sees her, and she's like, it's that ghost or something. And she's like, it was pale. It was frightful. Edgar goes to see what freaked out his sister or ward. And they heard the noise of her falling off the wall, and she's just kind of laying there on the ground with her ankle sprained. So she ends up staying at the Linton household for, in the book it is 5 weeks. In the movie it's 6 weeks. That's not an important change, but it is a change. Now in the book it's implied that the Linton mother takes Catherine in and tries to train her to be more of a proper woman. That doesn't exist in this version of the story, because the parents don't exist. The only parent that exists is Catherine's father, and he is just an alcoholic who gambles away everything that he has. It's really quite sad. So Catherine spends her time there, and she and Edgar make a connection. They start to fall for each other, but also through this whole time, Catherine's always been in love with Heathcliff. He's the help. Which is funny, because he's not supposed to be the help until Hindley comes back from college in the book, but until that point, he's just kind of treated as, like, the favorite son, actually. That's not how it is in the movie, because source material means nothing to people these days. So Catherine and Edgar kind of start to get feelings for each other, while Catherine still definitely has feelings for Heathcliff. Then one day, Edgar arrives at Catherine's house, and this is before or after she was. This must have been after she had spied on. Must have been after she had gone to see Heathcliff at night, but ended up spying on Joseph and Zillah doing the deed in the barn. And this is not normal doing the deed. This is, we're gonna go have some fun doing the deed with a little bit extra, make it a little little spicy. Well, more than a little spicy, it is very spicy. But Catherine's up on top, and she's like watching through the floorboards. Heathcliff finds her there, and like he like covers her mouth as she's about to gasp, and then he covers her eyes so she can't actually see what's going on. Heathcliff stops her from really seeing everything that happens, but she saw enough. And he tries to say something after Joseph and Zilla leave. I don't know what is going through her head or what's going on in general here. Because really that would have been the perfect time to be like, hey, I actually like you. Well, not really the perfect time, but whatever. Doesn't really matter. She just, after that, she leaves. She's kind of freaked out by the whole situation. I think that's when she realizes that she's not just like, I don't know. I was going to say that's when she realizes she's more than just like emotionally attracted to Heathcliff. I'm like, nah, she's probably always been slightly like physically attracted too, but whatever. Whatever. It really doesn't matter. You know why? Because Edgar proposes and Catherine accepts. And this is where Nellie becomes, in my opinion, the catalyst for everything else that goes wrong in this movie. Because she sees Heathcliff come and knows he's at the door listening in on the end of their conversation. This is after Catherine has confessed to Nellie that she loves Heathcliff, but all he hears is that he would degrade her because he is the help, and that is below her status and everything. I don't understand those times. Just if you like the guy, marry him. You could be happy anyway. Sure, you might not be living in the life of luxury, but you'll be happy, probably, depending on how poor you end up. I mean, still, if Heathcliff still goes off and does his thing, even after you get married, you're going to be great. That doesn't happen. She accepts the proposal, and then Heathcliff leaves that night after hearing what little bit of that conversation he overheard. And Nellie should have told Catherine he was there. Again, a lot of what happened wouldn't have happened if she knew. She might have gone to Heathcliff and told him more. Or, like, tried to explain more of what she was said. No, so Heathcliff is gone. I think it's 5 years or something. Catherine marries Edgar. They are now married. I don't know if they're a happily married couple, but she seems happy enough. Isabella, very happy to have a female friend, I guess. That girl is very lonely, I think. And very repressed. That comes into play a little bit later, I think. During this time, Catherine and Edgar, they're doing their thing. Her room that he gives her in Thrushcross Grove, I think that's the name of the estate. He styled the walls after her skin tone, and there's like he even got like the freckle on her cheek, and it's a little creepy. But also, I understand that like back then it was more common for the man and woman to have their own separate bedrooms, just because of schedules and life and how things were done. I have no problems with that. That's just a thing. They end up doing the deed. They do it enough. She gets pregnant. She finds out shortly before Heathcliff returns, because he does return, and with that horrible haircut. But he's now a wealthy man, supposedly more educated, but he still can't write. Which, if he went to university, he would have learned how to write. So that definitely something got lost in that translation there, in terms of what he did while he was away, because clearly didn't go to university because he wouldn't know how to write, probably. So Heathcliff comes back. Catherine knows she's pregnant. But once she sees Heathcliff again, all those feelings that she had for him before she married Edgar and Heathcliff ran away come flooding back. And in the book, it's not implied that Catherine ever cheats on Edgar with Heathcliff. In the movie, there's a lot of cheating. A lot. It is there is so much of it, yet it's still like the most, I wouldn't say conservative, but like in terms of how they're always very clothed when we see the cheating happening. They're cheating. At one point we find out Isabella has caught feelings for Heathcliff. Catherine doesn't like this fact. Catherine wants Heathcliff to herself, but also she's married to Edgar, so she can't really do anything about it. But she can try to dissuade both of them from each other. Heathcliff doesn't really care about Isabella in any sense. It's just like she's there, and Isabella's just like, oh, he's great and everything. Catherine's just like, he would destroy you. More accurate than she knew at the time. But true. Nellie, Nellie, my girl, you need to just back off a little bit and get over yourself. Because at one point, so Catherine finds out that Nellie never told her that Heathcliff was at the door, and so she fires Nellie. She tells Nellie, go tell Edgar that you're going to search for a new position, and you're gone. I don't think Nellie tells Edgar this. She definitely tells Edgar about the affair that Catherine's having with Heathcliff, because after that conversation, Edgar's just like, we're going to stop receiving this man. No more of you and him being near each other. And before this, Catherine's father died, probably from drinking too much. There is just bottles upon bottles upon bottles in the room where we find him laying dead. He was not a healthy man. He needed help. He never got it. So he's dead. Edgar knows about the affair to some extent. I don't know if he knows the extent of the affair. Heathcliff still doesn't know that Catherine's pregnant. And he doesn't find out about it until one night after Catherine was supposed to go meet him, I guess on a cliffside or wherever. And she didn't show up, so he shows up. He doesn't fully break a window, but it like cracks. So she's just like, I'm gonna go check to see, because like starlings, make sure the bird's okay. And Edgar's just like, all right. I'm pretty sure he knows it's actually Heathcliff out there. He still lets her go. He after a few minutes, he does follow her out there, and Heathcliff's like gone by that point. But he's just like, come in, it's cold. And she's like, I don't mind the cold. And this is when Heathcliff finds out about the baby, because Edgar's just like, well, our son might. That night, Heathcliff shows up in Catherine's room, or what? Is it her room? It's somewhere in the house. And he asks about the baby, and he asks if it's his, and she's like, no, I knew about it before you even came back, so it's definitely Edgar's. This is when she fully pushes him away. She's just like, we definitely just need to stop. You need to leave me alone. Just go. After this, what does Heathcliff do? He sneaks into Isabella's room and just like, I'm not going to treat you nice. Every time I'm with you, I'm going to be thinking of Catherine. Is that tell me to stop? And she's like, no, we can keep doing this. I'm okay with it. God, that poor girl is just so desperate for any amount of affection. They go get married. It's like, literally, it's like going down to the courthouse. He's just like, it's no special affair. She's like, are you of legal age to marry? She's just like, yep. Are you married? Are you able to be married? Like, are you in a relationship or something like that? I guess is the question at that point. She's like, I'm good. Heathcliff, I'm good. And dude's just like, you can kiss the bride, and Heathcliff just walks away. He did buy Wuthering Heights, the estate where Catherine grew up in, that her father owned. He bought that, which is why I guess that's why the book is called Wuthering Heights, because of where half the book and movie takes place at Thrushcross Grove. So I'm not sure why it's called Wuthering Heights. That's not important, but it is. Whatever. I have feelings about this in the book. Heathcliff and Isabella are now a thing, and Edgar finds Catherine crying over this fact, and Edgar's just like, I won't have this. You don't need to be crying over this man. Honestly, yeah, fair. He's her husband. She kind of falls into a depression, an illness. There's illness involved as well. She just kind of lies in bed this whole time. And during this time, Heathcliff is having Isabella write letters to them. And the first one she writes, I think, is addressed to Nellie, explaining that Heathcliff is kind of a lot more barbaric than she expected, and she's hoping to get Nellie to come. Nellie does eventually come visit, and Heathcliff has Isabella chained up to the wall like a dog. She literally barks like a dog and is panting and crawls up. It is a whole thing. It is weird. And Nellie tries to get Isabella to come home, and she's just like, no, I'm good. This is where I'm good here. Heathcliff has Isabella start writing letters to Catherine directly, because he can't write. So he needs her to do this. Again, Nellie. She's seeing that these letters are coming, and she's burning them before Catherine even knows that they exist. Catherine even asks, have any letters come for me? Nellie's just like, nope, none at all. I hate Nellie so much in this movie. Because while everybody is horrible, I still believe if she hadn't done these things, a lot of the drama wouldn't have happened and things might have resolved themselves. I don't know about the relationship with Catherine and Edgar. I highly doubt that, like, Heathcliff and Isabella would have gone together if things hadn't progressed the way they had. Catherine is just laying in bed. At one point, she claims that the baby's gone, and Nellie doesn't really believe her because Catherine's always been a very dramatic child, very over-exaggerative, etc. So she's just like, I didn't believe you because you're always just hyperboling. Yeah, we're gonna go with that word. She gets to the point of Catherine just laying in bed, and she's like, you need to get out of bed. She pulls the blankets off and sees her legs, and they're like veiny. I don't know how to describe it because it looks weird. I don't know how to describe what it looks like, but like disease. That's when Nellie realized, oh, I have messed up by not actually looking into the fact that you have claimed to be ill this entire time. This is when Edgar finds out that, yeah, she's more ill than I thought, and Nellie officially gets fired, but Catherine keeps her around at this point. She's like, no, don't go. They call a doctor. Back then, leeches were used to, like, suck the bad blood, suck the disease out of the blood. So we see leeches trying to get Catherine better. It doesn't work. Catherine dies. And that's the halfway point in the book. Spoilers for the book, I guess. And when I got to that point in the book, I'm like, that was a lot sooner than I expected. I figured the whole book was their relationship. No, but that's... Catherine dies. She bleeds out, I guess. So, there's a lot of blood. She's dead. Heathcliff finds out she's dead. There was a point near the end where I'm like, somehow Heathcliff is gonna bring her back to life through really unconventional means. That's what my husband expected as well. And I wouldn't have put it past the movie to do that. It doesn't, thankfully. That'd be really weird. And thankfully it doesn't happen. And that's just kind of where the movie ends. Catherine's dead, Heathcliff's upset. Isabella is gone. I think Nellie got her away. She's going off to London. In the book, Isabella gets to London and lives there for a while. Everybody sucks. Except Edgar. Joseph was a decent dude, too. I like Joseph. A lot more than I liked him in the book. I can barely understand what he's saying in the book. I do not like how Emily Bronte wrote how he speaks in the book. I'd rather you just write what somebody says and then just annotate at the end, just like with a very heavy insert accent here. No, she writes out his accent and everything, and it is... it's a struggle to read. It is a struggle to read. Isabella owns a dog that Catherine complains about being too small at one point. It's not important to anything, but it is a thing that happens in the movie. It's a very cute little Pomeranian, though. The other thing about this movie, there is some weird hand and mouth, mostly hand fetish going on. There's a whole fireplace where the top part of it is just hands growing out of the wall, and then like throughout the room there's just hands that hold things. It's just like from here, that is statues of hands. Bust isn't the right word because that is like a head, and like from here up, I mean, statues of hands, wall art of hands. They hold candles at one point. There is just a lot of weird hand stuff, and I can't decide if that is because Emerald Fennell has a thing for hands or not. If she does, good for her. It's just weird. I'm not gonna kink shame. I'm just like, why? This wasn't in the book. We don't need this here. A lot of what is in the movie in terms of the relationships between people, in terms of the physical sense, not in the book. Emily Bronte was an unmarried woman. She didn't really know. Intercourse was not something that they talked about really outside of marriage with their partner. Only with their partner, really. Like we do nowadays. Because nowadays, people have no shame, and I'm okay with that. I respect that. As long as everything's safe, sane, and consensual, I'm here for it. Back then, it was a very different situation. It was very hush-hush. There's so much of it in the movie. Like, why? That wasn't part of their relationship. I think they just needed to pad out the runtime because Hindley doesn't exist, so they can't do the second half of the book. But also, this movie is beautiful. Costume design, gorgeous. Score, great. Like, very moving. Scenery, the cinematography. Oh, it's breathtaking, gorgeous. Acting, great. Margot Robbie, Jacob Elordi, brilliant. I loved everybody in this movie in terms of how they acted. The actors themselves. In terms of the characters themselves, everybody's insufferable, but that's how they're supposed to be. I hated the plot of this movie. Mostly because I just did not like the book either. It is a beautiful movie. I don't know if I can recommend going to see it based on my personal opinions, but I'm also just like, don't skip out just because somebody said don't go see it. I'd rather you go see it to form your own opinion. But if you also have no interest in seeing this, don't bother. But if you have any amount of interest in seeing this movie, go see it. Despite the plot being a thing and everybody being insufferable, the movie itself is beautiful. The music is gorgeous. The costume design is gorgeous. And there are some outfits that definitely deserved way more screen time than they got. Because there's some where I'm like, you got like 2 seconds of screen time. I know that took forever to get Margot Robbie into that dress, probably. And she is only wearing it for 2 to 5 seconds of screen time total. Oh, I want some of those dresses, by the way. I'm not a dress person, but And okay, my other thing though, there was one dress. I don't know if I ever saw it in the movie itself. I might have zoned out during that scene. But in the promo, there's a dress where it's like a latex skirt kind of look. Latex as a clothing material did not exist in the early 1800s. I looked this up at one point. I think it's either late 1800s or somewhere in the 1900s that latex finally became a clothing material. Not in like 1801, 1800 when this story is taking place. So that bothered me so much. That, and it's just weirdly horny. It doesn't need to be because the book isn't, but it's still a beautiful movie, and it's just, I am very conflicted on this because I'm like, music, great. I do wish we had had a little bit more of Charlie XCX's like vocal music in the movie. I had kind of expected more of that. What we did get, yes. Cinematography, beautiful scenes, it's beautiful. Casting choices, great. Everybody, great. They did a great job filling their roles. Plot of the movie is where it loses me. If you have any interest in seeing this movie, go see it. It does deserve to be seen. If you've read the book and you didn't like the book, still go see it just to compare it. Because you'll at least know why you're going to be mad at it. But if you just want to, if you know nothing about the book, if you're just like, I just love Margot Robbie or Jacob Elordi, and you're like, I want to go see it, go see it. I can't promise you'll have a good time. That is fully up to you. It's good in most parts. I'm very conflicted with this movie, as you can tell. Again, I will repeat one last time. It deserves to be seen. So if you have any interest in seeing this movie, go see it. Or you don't want to pay to see it in the theaters, see it when it hits streaming or hits physical release. I do suggest that. Beyond that, if you can get through the book, great! I'm not recommending the book either. That is my feelings and my review of Wuthering Heights. If you've seen the movie already, let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. If you have been thinking about maybe going and seeing it, and this movie pushes you to go see it or to not go see it, let me know about that too. Let me know your thoughts on anything. Or, tell me about your pets in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video, which I don't know which movie I'll do next for a long form video. We'll find out together. But until then, bye!